is everybody? Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Welcome back. Want to do a closeout show because every morning I've been spending my mornings with all of you guys, Monday through Fridays, basically, and wanted to send us off the right way. And it would definitely be the best send-off if we got to talk about Trooper Proctor and the fact that Trooper Proctor will no longer be a state trooper in the capacity of his duties. Now, everybody's been wondering, okay, was he really fired? What's going on with Trooper Proctor? You guys, we have to start somewhere. And in Massachusetts, it's very difficult to get a police officer fired. Very, very difficult. I spoke with a lot of people last night about it because I wanted to, I didn't want to be ignorant to the situation. I wanted to educate myself on the process. You know, there is a process, just like anything. If you try to fire a teacher, there's a process, and the process has begun, and that is a very, very good sign for Karen Reed's second trial. So number one is that it's awesome for Karen Reed's second trial. If they choose to go forward, if the Commonwealth choose to go forward and retry Karen Reed, well, within hours, literally hours of the mistrial, Trooper Proctor told to keep your ass behind a desk, boy. You ain't investigating shit no more. That's what he was kind of told. Let's take a look at something that I thought was interesting because I want to give props because this show is also about giving props to good coverage. And so, first and foremost, Turtle Boy deserves all the credit in the world for what he started with the Karen Reed case, especially all the locals that then rallied behind Turtle Boy's coverage locally and literally being out there every day, giving Karen Reed the strength, like literally to get up and do it every day. So number one, but let's take a look at this video. Trooper Proctor is the new get off my lawn guy, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Take a look.
6, but let's begin with NBC 10 investigator Kathy Curran. Kathy, you just spoke exclusively with one of the central figures in this case, State Police Trooper Michael Proctor. We all know his name, and it sounds like he wasn't thrilled to see you.
Well, Glenn, you know, there's a lot of pressure on the lead investigator, Trooper Michael Proctor. We heard the disturbing texts about Karen Reed that he sent to friends, family members, and coworkers. There's an internal investigation by state police, and we know there's an ongoing federal investigation into how this case was handled. Proctor was at his home in Canton this afternoon when the Karen Reed case ended in a mistrial. We caught up with him just a few moments ago to ask him his thoughts on the outcome of the case. Trooper Proctor, Kathy Curran from NBC 10. We'd like to ask you some questions. Do you think your actions impacted the outcome of the trial?
Get off of our lawn. Right?
I'm not on your lawn. I'm on the street. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I fully support my husband. Karen Reed is a murderer.
You support your husband? And you heard it there. His wife fully supports him and called Karen Reed a murderer. Testimony in the case showed Proctor was familiar with witnesses in this case. We reached out to state police about Proctor's current status with the department. They told us he's still employed.
Now, yes, this was before the news came out that his ass was grass. He's still employed. We're going to read some things about that employment. I love it. I feel like Jen McCabe, I love it. When I say I love it, I love it. Like Jen McCabe was saying, I love it. Trooper Proctor has been relieved of his duties. Okay, so he's not in the field right now. He will have to go through a process. Let me read what can happen. They're going to have a hearing for Trooper Proctor. And at this hearing, okay, at this hearing, a couple things are possible. So he's been placed on leave, which means while he is technically on the force and being paid, he is not allowed to function as a state trooper. He is still technically a trooper until his disciplinary hearing, just like everybody. Okay, we get a hearing. He gets a hearing. That hearing can end in one of four ways, guys. One of four ways. The first way is that he could get his job back. That is a possibility. Option number 2, he could be suspended with pay. Option 3, he could be suspended without pay. And option 4 is he could receive restricted duties. Those are the four options for Michael Proctor once he has his hearing. Proctor cannot be fired as a result of the hearing. It's the first step in the process that could lead to his eventual termination from the force. So, like I said, this is a process, but guys, guess what? The process began so quickly, which is amazing for Karen Reed, all right? Because when he has to take the stand again, we get to talk, and he gets to be asked questions like this. Is it true, Trooper Proctor, that you lost your position with the Massachusetts State Police due to your conduct investigating my client? Shit like that. Okay? Now, so Proctor is going to go through a process, and ultimately, one of those four things, it's really hard to get a cop fired. You guys, I was doing more and more research, and in Massachusetts, if you're a first responder or you're a cop, you're like Jesus Christ to the Massachusetts people, to the citizens of Massachusetts. You're like a god. Okay, so this being divided in with the jurors, and when they want to talk about moral and opinions and deep rooted, when I hear that now after talking with really educated, attorneys, CEOs, people that I know in mass, and you hear it from the perspective of is you are raised, if you live in Massachusetts, you're raised like the Irish, they're raised with like, if you're a cop, you're like Jesus Christ. So for people to believe that these first responders would have acted in any type of way, that's going to be hard for people who have this Jesus Christ complex with, law enforcement and first responders. That's their, those are those deep rooted, that's what you're instilled growing up. So that tells me more than I thought, yesterday, with when I take that into consideration of like what these jurors, with these, oh my God, it was so difficult to pick, I wrote I went off on somebody's, one of those mainstream media channels, or like to somebody just about what, are we forgetting that reasonable doubt doesn't equate to a hung jury? Reasonable doubt equates that you must acquit. You must say not guilty. And I can't remember. Maybe it was even like Duty Ron's comment section. I should actually find it. Somebody said that I was entitled, and I loved it. Entitled to my opinion, you motherfucking right. But I'm definitely not entitled. But I am entitled to my brain. But Trooper Proctor, in the process of, we got to get there somewhere. Now, there's been talks if Alan's going to be returning with the team. I do believe what he said on the footsteps of the courthouse. We ain't got no quit. I'm going to have to go with the fact of him saying that and him saying we ain't got no quit. They might have a plan, but I believe that Alan's going to try to come back and be with the team as far as trial number 2. I don't think he would go and put himself and say that on the steps. I do think that he thinks Karen Reed's a special client, and as hard as it was to be away from his family, I think it's just going to depend on when can we get this to be a summer trial. Can we really try to get this to be a summer trial? If this can be a summer trial, then, that's something that he could then be, during like a summer to be in Boston versus the way that it kind of was where at the end of the school year, it was just really hectic. But I think Alan's going to try to do everything he can to be part of that team. I do. I don't think that he would have said that on the steps if he wasn't going to at least do everything that he could. I also believe that Little and Reed have a very special bond. And just so you guys know that Little is a partner where Alan Jackson's a partner. His name's on the wall. Little is a partner there. So it's not like Little's some chump lawyer here. She's a partner at Workman Jackson. So people should know that. And Little and Reed, Little was a big support system mentally for Karen Reed. So I think that if people don't know that, I think that you should. And people want to talk about the money, how much money this is going to cost. You guys, there's no price tag on freedom. So you're going to find a way, and I think her lawyers are going to find a way. I think that Karen Reed is marketable. I think that if People Magazine wants an exclusive, all right, pay $400,000 and then just turn around and hand that money to your lawyers. So there's ways that you can easily, money's not going to hold back, this team. You can find a way. This is on a national stage now. This started off not on a national stage. It's on a national stage. DMC, so glad you were live. I was feeling lost this morning. I know I said, it's not time yet. We're not going to say our goodbyes yet to our morning ritual, Monday through Friday. Now, deep-rooted delusional people, in my opinion. There you go, Randy. I feel you on that. Okay, so we were talking about trying to get the list. I want everybody to understand this. They usually release the list of jurors. Well, they've held back because of the mistrial on releasing the list name of jurors. Okay, we're going to see what we can do. But as of right now, there is not a list out of the jurors. I know that juror number 3 allegedly, supposedly, had written a letter and it was read off. That juror number 3 was an alternate. And she decided that got picked that you're an alternate there at the end, So I'm still confused on if juror number 3 was kicked off or if that was juror number 4. But thank you, WB. Okay, next up is next up is kind of like the Karen Reed movement. There's a movement that I started in Idaho with the Dr. Moore, Dr. Drake case. Over this next, 6 months, I will be back, feeding you guys exclusive material because what happened to Karen Reed happened to Dr. Moore. Literally the same type of thing with inept police, inept state police, inept sheriff's department, Brady material being held back, prosecutorial misconduct, 911 calls galore with like the fuckerage around it. So I really want all of your guys' help and support, but I am going to redo some of the material that I have, and I'm going to put it in terms of I'm going to label each little spat that I do of 30 minutes of all of the names surrounding the Moore case and just dump load everything that I have on each individual person. So it'll be just in like an episode of a 30-minute quick, like, here's this person, here's what they were involved with in this case, to include the investigators, to include the detectives, the lead detectives, to include 911 calls, you name it. I am going to data dump you guys with hella material that will come out in trial if it continues to go to trial. But this involved a false confession after Dr. Moore was threatened with his family, with his son. I've held back so much stuff that I have, so many people that I've talked to, interviews that I've had. People are in the same boat as they were in Massachusetts, that they are afraid. These people have talked to me. They are afraid. They are afraid of what's going to happen to them in this little town, Bonners Ferry, just like this little town of Canton. It's the same thing. And this was, Karen Reed's a white woman, educated. How could this happen? Dr. Moore, a chiropractor, educated, hardworking, all the things. Karen Reed, the only thing that they didn't do was plant tail light at his property or any property. But what they did do is assign a vehicle to him that said that it was, driving around the area, casing Dr. Drake's place. But they did stage a gas leak at his office and made it seem like he was attempting suicide because of the guilt that he had for killing this other doctor. It was unbelievable in this case. But I'm telling you, the two mirror each other. And I would love it if one day, Karen Reed or her team could talk to the Moores and maybe help them through the like, how do you keep every single day Karen Reed pushed forward when she was exhausted mentally. And so I think if anybody's deserving of any type of tips that could come from how you preserve like that and persevere and keep pushing, and it would be someone like Karen Reed or her parents to talk about that. And I think that the Moores are the most deserving people out there to be able to get such, like tips from the Reed family. Like I said, I couldn't be more happy for Karen Reed and her family when I saw them hugging. You can't imagine what that would be like. You're literally facing down a barrel that you could spend the rest of your life in prison over people's opinions and moral compass because they couldn't do they wanted to change the rules of the game, these jurors, I felt. You don't get to change the rules of the game when you get into the deliberating room, okay? If there's all these reasonable possibilities, it's called reasonable doubt. And you have to acquit. You have to go not guilty. And that to me, I believe is going to happen trial 2. And let me tell you what I think is going to happen trial 2. All this evidence that we saw, and I was telling you guys, well, Alan Jackson could have gone one of two ways. You either let the evidence in and don't suppress it because you want people to see what the hell they did, okay, and how this is so this evidence has been tampered with. It's either been manipulated, it's been planted. There's no chain of custody. But guess what can happen round 2? Now you get the opportunity to say to yourself, well, fuck, if these jurors couldn't wrap their heads around the fact that officers would plant evidence, okay, because that's what we're seeing, that people couldn't get around that the cops would ever do something like this. Okay. Well, then we're just going to suppress the evidence because it's suppressible. And that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to suppress the shit out of this illegally obtained / when I say illegally obtained, when you don't have chain of custody on anything, that's when you will write in your motions to have a suppression hearing. Also, do we see a Franks? There was no Franks motion put in. There was no Franks. Will we see a Franks hearing this go around? I think we will. I think we're going to see the blood, the solo, the cups. I think the only thing that's going to stand is the leaf blower, because therefore then you could show that there was hardly any snow there and you're not going to miss giant pieces. But all of those cut open boxes, nothing was tagged. Like, nothing was written on. There was no, we're going to have to call to the stand these evidence supervisors. That didn't happen. That's going to happen this time. Trust me, because we need to break the chain. Okay? That didn't happen this time. So evidence that was let in this time is not going to be let in next time. Mark my words. So can you think about that? You know, or they, I mean, I could be totally wrong, but I see some suppression hearings happening. I see a Frank's motion happening. Also, everybody wants to talk about the 911 call, and we're going to talk about it. The 911 call. The 911 call is now officially all cleared up. Everybody can hear exactly what Jennifer McCabe says. Okay. Jennifer McCabe gives herself away on 4 different occasions. You guys have caught it as well. She has said that they turned him over. They had to flip him over. That means he was face down, not face up, and nobody was questioned about that. Not Jennifer McCabe, not the police. Also, we're going to have people be questioned on who were the people that answered the phones. There were 3 different people on that 911 call because it was transferred. I believe one of those people was firefighter Flamati. It kind of sounds like him on that last part. Obviously, we hear Good's voice, the Norwood guy that transferred, but then that last person, it sounded like it was somebody that had that monotone voice, just like Flamati. Anyways, she also said that John O'Keefe got out of the car. Linda, you're absolutely right. How many times did we see Bev on her own call her own sidebars? It was happening at the most inopportune times for the defense. Bev wasn't letting stuff in, absolutely. But that 911 call, there's 4 huge slips. There's a guy passed out in the snow. A guy. Who's this guy? Oh, it's my really good best friend, John. Never says the word Boston officer. You can hear that Carrie Roberts is on top of John, and Carrie Roberts is actually the person that's not getting off of John O'Keefe, not Karen Reed. And then she said that, I don't know, they were out drinking, making, like, she was disassociating herself with that whole night. And they were out drinking, and that it was a couple hours ago. That would put it at like 4. That would put it when the Ford Edge was out seen, you know, a couple hours ago. Again, a lot of key words in there, a lot of key statements, and nobody answered to it. Now, you're going to hear it here first. Nicholas Guerrero testified to using the TRAX system. Okay? The TRAX system, guess whose software that is? That's Cyray's software. Cyray has a ton of, if you guys have listened to my interview with him and his wife, you know, they were law enforcement, and then they made the software. They actually sold it, so Google. But who better to take a look at anything related to any of the data, to any of the location data, than Cyray himself? So do you think I'm going to make a push for the defense to talk to Cyray about what Nicholas Guerrero testified to? You bet your fucking ass. You bet your ass. I think that him going up against his own product to say that the person on the Commonwealth misinterpreted how to read the software that he made, how would that look in court? So my push is that if I was the defense, that would be the only hurdle in terms of the data, right? The location data, they're using the track system, is to reach out to Cyray and have him look at the testimony from Nicholas Guerrero and the statements made and what the data shows, and get his take on that, especially with the time frame, the timing of that, of when he's saying it happened. So that's a possibility. But also the luxury, if you're the defense, you could do that, not tell anybody that you talked to Cyray, because you don't have to disclose that information. And then if you don't like what he has to say, you just don't have to call him. And nobody knows anything. So whereas the Commonwealth, anytime that you meet with somebody, interview somebody, take notes, you have to turn that over in discovery. So if people didn't like the way that Richard Green testified and that he came across as not as confident or things like that, maybe somebody that actually made the material, the software, would be a great person to see if you could get to go up against a person that's trying to interpret what your software is saying. So just a thought. Next up is coverage and awards. I want to give a shout out to Tom Live, CPU Tom. If it was not for someone like Tom, we wouldn't have had round the clock out in the field outside of the courthouse, literally round the clock. Every morning he got in his vehicle or he had someone drive him, and he was down there videotaping, rolling film. He didn't miss a day. The only time he missed was when he got news of his dad's passing. Okay. He didn't miss a day. I'll tell you this, your battery gets drained when you're live, when you're doing something like that, streaming. Then Tom went out and they bought these batteries, but literally Tom made it so that all of us felt like we knew what was going on outside that courtroom, and even though we weren't there. I know some way, somehow, I have no idea how it happened, but he was demonetized. I don't know all the ins and outs, but Tom deserves literally like all the kudos in the world for the consistent everyday reporting, just like how the locals showed up every day. Kudos to Tom. Like I said, we wouldn't have had any of that. Tom, Dina, Rita, Paul. I mean, I met all of you guys out there. You guys are amazing people. You guys were selfless, gave all your time, and then also made sure that Karen Reed and her team, like that you guys, if it was raining, had an umbrella, cleared the way, protected when they were walking. If you saw somebody that you thought was out of place, you kept an eye on them. You guys were always looking out for each other. You guys had your head on swivels, and that's community. That's community, and I just don't think there's enough to say about all of that. And I think Yannetti, they meant every word of it. That all that support, you guys, it was invaluable. It truly is. That just changes the day, and you're driving up and you're having a bad morning and you're driving up and you see a sea of people that are there just for you. That atmosphere was amazing. So, yeah, EMJ, I agree. I hope that Tom does like a morning show to, interact with people or so. But yeah, hands down to Tom. Next up is anybody that actually made the trip out there that was covering the case. I think that showed, same thing, dedication. You're talking about this case. So there was a lot of people that covered it with YouTube. So there's a couple of lawyers that, were covering. They went out there. I think that's awesome. It was a way of showing like, hey, we're supporting. We're covering the case. So there's a ton of people that did that. Kudos. All the people that have been donating their money to Karen Reed's defense fund, or even to like people that have been covering the case. That's what would make somebody cover the case, when your time is being spent and you're researching and you're trying to put a show together, or even like, you're live streaming so that people could be in a chat and talking about something in a safe environment. So kudos. And like I said, the locals were just so welcoming with it. They weren't like, oh my God, what's this person doing here? Oh my God, this is our territory. Or, oh my God, or now you want to come around. I didn't feel that way at all. In fact, like I thought that everybody was awesome as a community. Oh, Lana, I'm so sorry I missed you. I couldn't leave work. It's okay. Those days happen. I'm just glad that you're here. Sarah, you are the real MVP, Lana. Well, I'll take that. Thank you. Yep. Shout out to all the people that donated. Shout out to all the people that show up. The more people that hit the thumbs up, the more people that come in, it creates the algorithm so that people then see the good material that you want them to see, not the crap. So, what else here? Questions that you guys have. Hello, everyone. Your favorite Contran viewpoint is here. Busty D. There you go, Busty D. Busty double D's. Yeah, no one can say I don't let other opinions in. Yes, I did see, I got sent the pictures about there was a turtle hanging outside Turtle Boy's parents' house. I mean, I think people like that are pussies. Why are you taking something to his parents' house? I don't know. Where does he live? Why wouldn't you put it at his house? Also, why are you killing an animal? What does an animal have to do with this? I think that's just sick, Maybe if you wanted to take a stuffed animal and do that shit, but you killed a turtle. You killed a turtle. Like, the fuck? They tell you to look out in this world for people that harm children, old people, and animals. You know what I mean? Like, thank you there. Let's see what that says. Oops. Lana, your spreadsheets are amazing. Your dedication to Karen trial has been amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Good citizen. I think it's gross. Killing a turtle. The fuck? Like I said, that shows way more about that person than whatever Turtle Boy. I do think that Turtle Boy needs our support, because you guys, his fight's not over yet. He's looking at a bunch of felonies, and we know how these people roll in that area. So I'm hoping maybe there could be some leverage with the fact that Jill Daniels and that Jim dude caught the assault, whatever charges they caught, that maybe there could be some deals that, hey, yeah, I'll drop those. You're going to drop all my shit. You know what I mean? But Turtle Boy, there's no freedom of speech is freedom of speech. He wasn't doing anything to anyone. And Tully is the one that's driving that. So I think it's July 11th. He has a hearing. And I know the locals will be there for him, because that's the whole reason they were there for Karen Reed. It was Turtle Boy. So I'm thinking that all of those supporters that support Karen Reed because of Turtle Boy will be there for him. But Tully's the one that's driving that against Turtle Boy. TNT will be covering that. We'll be making sure that no fuckerage is going on. And if there's stuff that Turtle Boy doesn't want to talk about, but he wants to give to other people to talk about, I'd be happy to make sure that message was clear. But he's representing, someone like me. If I wanted to go up to a door, knock on the door and interview somebody, I'm not witness intimidating. I'm trying to interview you. And I didn't even know that you're a fucking witness yet. You know what I mean? Like, there's people that, why would I think that Brian Lucky Lochran was a witness when you guys didn't even want to talk to him? Same thing like Colin Albert. Y'all didn't even talk to him. So it's when people are in power positions to do stuff to other humans with the law to take away your freedom, that's very serious. And they're trying to take away Turtle Boy's freedom. That's very serious. So make sure all of you guys that have been supporting Karen Reed because of Turtle Boy, that you guys are there supporting Turtle Boy, because he 100% caught these charges, these bogus charges, because of his coverage in the Karen Reed case, his exposure, what he exposed in the Karen Reed case. They are abusing their powers. Lana, do you have Twitter? I have Twitter. I'm going to start using it more. Okay. I just want somebody to come over here and be like, hey, Lana, I'm a social media marketing guru. And because I love you, I'm just going to be your social media marketing team and pro bono your ass. I'm over here knee deep in research. I'm like, oh shit, I'm supposed to be posting on Twitter or sharing this on Twitter, because then people find you. Like, you guys, I do no type of advertising for my channel. Like, I don't have a Facebook group. I'm not in a bunch of Facebook groups putting sharing my link in these Facebook groups. I'm not on Twitter sharing my shit. But I probably should be. Oh, man, I tagged you in Twitter. Woo! X. What a name. What a name. Yeah, Boston 10 showed up at Proctor's house, but Aiden gets 16. Yeah, exactly. Yes, I almost am at 50K. I am. You know what's more important than the 50K, guys, is the quality. Okay. I have some of the most amazing minded motherfuckers here. Always. Kind, funny, and you have a little bit of brains. Not just a little bit, but And I rather have, I just want people that want to be here. I don't want people going and subbing to my channel just to sub. Oh, come get involved. I don't delete messages and I don't delete you. Fuck Busty D up in this motherfucker. Saying all crazy crap, but they have the right to their opinion. Just, you're not going to attack people. Okay? I think that you guys can think that Karen Reed is guilty. I think you guys can think that Dr. Moore's guilty. I want you to say, hey, I want to come on your channel and show you why. I want to hear people want to come on and say, hey, I want to show you why I think this. I don't want to just hear you say, I think they're guilty. I don't give a fuck about the guilty or the not guilty. I want you to have some substance behind that, because then I can listen to you. I can get down with, yeah, let's talk about this. I want to hear other perspectives. I want to hear somebody with a little bit of brains talk about how I could find Karen Reed guilty of murder. I want to hear this. I want to hear how you're going to sell me on that. I don't attack people. Busty D doesn't. That's why Busty D is allowed to be here. And I think secretly Busty D likes being here. Speaking of mofos, here's Sean's new intro song from the other day. Fart Box rapped a new song for him about this case. Guess the title is Mofos for the Transparency. I don't know, but that's funny. I know that Sean was on News Nation. You guys want to go see what Sean said on News Nation? Yes. There you go, Dwight. Opinion is one thing. Systematic corruption is another. Absolutely. Systematic corruption. Couldn't have said it better myself. It is. It's systematic. Hey, Sherry D, you don't visit Roberta anymore. Look at Busty D trying to get all Busty Double D's trying to get up in Sherry D's life. Busty D, you keeping tabs on people or what? What did Paul yell to Karen on the way out of court? What I heard is that we're not done with you. Something along those lines. But like I said, if the O'Keefe family wants to sit in that courtroom and listen to everything that they listen to and think that the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office is going for the truth for their son, then let them think that. If they want to be that ignorant, they have the right to be that ignorant. I'm just not going to endorse it. I'm not going to make excuses for it. It is what it is. I'll tell you this. Sometimes in life, when you're already too deep in, if they were to switch, flip the switch right now, they'd be standing on an island all by themselves because people wouldn't welcome them in that were from like the other side. So it's like they're almost to the point of no return type of thing. But like I said, it is what it is. And hey, it's their right to want to believe whatever they want to believe. But you'd have to be deaf and blind to sit in that courtroom and hear all that shit and stand behind those investigators in that investigation for your brother who's a cop. So the question is when will the O'Keefe family speak out publicly? That's when I want to see them do an interview. I want to see them do an interview. I don't see it happening. So fun fact, Bev was moved to civil court. Is that true or is that just like a joke? Fun fact, Bev was moved to civil court. She is no longer doing criminal. The past 5 criminal trials she has done, 3 resulted in mistrials. Well, I'll have to do my homework on that, Amy. But if you can send me if you could send me an email with that, if corroborating that statement, I would appreciate that. I'm over here about we just want to report the facts. Thank you, Amy. But yeah, if that's true, send it my way. I did know that the last 2 resulted in mistrials. I do know that. The third one would be interesting to me. I'd like to hear that. That's why we need a spreadsheet. Oh, you guys should see the spreadsheet I'm working on for the Moore case. Tits. Like PowerPoint tits. Spreadsheet with PowerPoint. With links that activate 911 calls. Like Allie did. But like on steroids. All of the support that I see in here, I'm telling you guys, you want to talk about a case that's off the hook. The Moore case is off the hook. We have religion, we have sex, we have police corruption, and I have all the surveillance cameras. I have 18 business surveillance cameras. And guess what I found on them? A whole new timeline of the crime, of the murder, and I have none other than a police trooper coming from the back alley. I've probably spent more than 2,000 hours in the past year on the Moore case. 2,000 hours. Do the math on how many hours you work in a week. Times that by how many? 52 weeks in a year. I've been covering behind the scenes, the Moore case, it'll be a year at the end of this month. And the shit I found in that case, and I'm going to put it all out there. All of it. All of it. You know how long it takes to go through surveillance cameras? But I said to myself, I have a ton of people, I have an army that wants to help. Well, how about this? I'm going to put out the surveillance cameras, and I want us to break down some hours, because I am looking for 3 vehicles that I have narrowed down, and I'm following them on these cameras. And if I can just connect like 3 more dots, then I think I can not only say who the shooter is, but I can say who the 2 other helpers were. Pretty cool. So I went out to prove Dr. Moore's innocence, and in the process, I am proving one of the most ridiculous cover-ups. Corruption. Bad, bad, bad people out there. But I'm here for it. Bring it on. Also, guess who I got to look into the case? You're never going to believe this. You're never going to believe who said that they wanted to team up with me on this case. I'll let you guys guess. Lana, I'm not being an ass, but I promise you, we have other smoke detectors that work. Okay, this is a hardwired issue. It's not, Lana is not being safe issue. Promise. Lana, do you believe Jen Googled house long? I don't care if Jen Googled it. We had a bet, but how can we decide who won? True, we did have a bet, and I think it's a draw, because the software is faulty in terms of what Lally said. Ooh, I see some good answers there. Me and Scott Roder already did the crime scene reenactment. Maybe I'll show you guys that video. We did a crime scene reenactment of the shooting out of the window. That's tits. I'm right. Like I knew I was. Ooh, look at that answer. Ooh. Tick, tick, boom. JLR helping you. Oh, damn. Thank you for that. Appreciate you guys. Yeah. You guys, I think the most compelling evidence in the Karen Reed case is that she was on Wi-Fi at 12:36. 12:36, Jen McCabe is admitting that when she texts Karen Reed at 12:27, that Karen Reed had already been there for a couple minutes, and then the 12:23 text from Ryan Nagel. That's all you have to focus on. That's all you have to focus on. And then you get one special witness who I think will just Karen Reed's case. And there is one special witness, I think, out there. When are you going to post on the Moore case? I'm going to start reposting. I've done, I think, like 6 or 7, 8 interviews of witnesses who were never interviewed. And ISP and the Bonners Ferry Police Department buried videos from the coffee shop store that was right next door. And there was a drive-through window camera. And the entire staff was interviewed multiple times, and none of those interviews were ever turned over to the defense. That's Brady violation. It's Brady material, because those witnesses say that those cameras did work, they did record, and then they were buried. So let's just say that moi interviewed them, and moi got their cell phone data from 2020, from the time of the crime, on March 12th, 2020. So they're just ridiculously fucked. The Moore trial goes to trial at the end of January and into the beginning of February. So it's like January 23rd to February 5th or something like that. It's a 2-week trial. So, and we're making a documentary, and the Moores are involved. I plan on blowing it out of the water. I would love for the people that cover the Karen Reed case to cover this case, because it's the same thing. So would love to hear from these lawyers like Melanie Little, Mark, Emily D. Baker, a lot of cool people that were covering this case. And I love Bob Mata. I love I love all the opinions. The lawyer, I love, the reactions. Watching that trial and just seeing stuff, and people are just like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? And then you have a hung jury. Then now we're all like, what the fuck? What the fuck? So I don't know. I think something wonky went on in that room. But I want trial number 2, guys, because I think the defense wants some moments back. I know that if I was on the defense team and now having some stuff that they didn't have, I think the feds still have more stuff. You guys, there was just the jury played them. Those people on the jury, whoever were the guilty people, they were acting like they were not guilty people, because they turned over the case to those people, because it was like, the jury is ready. The jury wants this. Remember that? The jury wants the case. We're giving it to them. They were reading the jury. So these jurors, the ones that were the not guilty or the guiltiers, were playing the defense. Were acting like they were not guilty. And then because here, get the case. And that's exactly what the defense did. And it backfired. And so I think that that's not going to be the case in round 2. I think that there's also a chance that Karen Reed testifies in round 2. I don't think I would if I was Karen Reed, but there's a chance that she could. And I think you'd have to prep her. Because people want to say that Karen Reed isn't likable. Oh yeah, I do like uncivil law too. Thanks for saying that there, Ms. Potts. What else? What other questions do you guys have? Will we get a different judge for round 2? I personally think that it should be moved out of the county. I don't know how it can't move out of the county. I think that the exposure to this, I think it needs to move out of the county. I think Bev should recuse herself on her own. I think in order to put pressure on that happening, I think that people should stand out of that courtroom. And anytime Bev is on the docket, people should be out there boycotting Bev, helping that process of getting her to recuse herself. And it's called putting pressure on. It's not doing anything illegal. It's putting pressure on people. They will then do stuff. Can you play Bang Bang for us? Not right now, but I will give you a ring. Let's see what else. Good Citizen says, I don't think there will be another trial. Well, I will say this. There's going to be another trial. It's just a matter of if it's going to be a civil trial that comes or the criminal case. And Karen Reed is suing these people. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. You can't sit there and tell me that Karen Reed isn't going to sue these people. This is the amount of prosecutorial misconduct that we witnessed by Lally is disgusting. Is absolutely disgusting. Andrea Berghard said Karen Reed should testify almost from jump. Yeah, because I just think the pros outweigh the cons with it. I've thought about it long and hard, even though, I mean, it's just, you don't ever really want to tell your client that you want them to do that. You know what I mean? But if it's certain things that you can get in because she's going to take the stand, like I think her medical, her medical stuff should come in. I know that Alan was able to get some of that in because of Proctor's testimony, because of what he was put in the text messages. But if everybody is hung up on where was Karen Reed from, 5:10 a.m. until 5:36, when they say that she arrived at Jennifer McCabe's house, I have to say, wait, let's back up. Where are you getting this that she arrived at Jennifer McCabe's at 5:36? That's Jennifer McCabe's testimony. There's no fact to that. What if she in fact arrived at 5:15? You know what I mean? So people out there saying, because Lally tried to put that in, which is, well, where was she? It only takes this long to get this, and then if she would have just got over to country, blah blah blah. But then the con to that though is that now you're even making it more so that your cycles are off, your key cycles are off. Now that we know what this little trooper Paul is going to testify to, you guys, he doesn't know anything. Karen Reed's going to go get a Toyota specialist to talk about key cycles, to talk about that. There's no dates behind that. The Commonwealth is at such a disadvantage. Think about this. Their cards are out on the table. Okay? All out on the table. The defense, they didn't put all their cards out on the table. You know how many people they wanted to call that they did not call? You know how many rebuttals now that you're going to have to now this is your hand? I'm telling you, I broke down that timeline. Canton Police called Jen McCabe. Jen McCabe did not call the Canton Police Department. That's going to be a huge twist in Trial 2 if Trial 2 happens. It's huge. Because what did they call her for? The report was already completed at 8:24. They call her at 8:38. And guess who they call right after they call her? I'm telling you, it's Carrie Roberts. They called the two people that called 911. They had those numbers. And it's about the shoe. And then you're going to have a link on his line to say, oh, I didn't find out about the shoe until, it was after we cleared the scene. No shit, it was after you cleared the scene. You cleared the scene at 7:42. You guys, they knew that the shoe was missing. That's what put everything into, okay, now we have to call. Now, after Jennifer McCabe talked to the Canton Police Department for 2 minutes and 45 seconds at 8:38, then she talked to Carrie Roberts because Carrie Roberts called her, I think, to say that the Canton Police called me. They were looking for John's shoe. Did you see John's shoe? Do you have John's phone? Then they didn't want anybody else to come back to that house. We want Lank to do this, right? So then Jennifer McCabe calls Lank's cell phone at 8:59, and she only talks to him for 13 seconds. What can you get in 13 seconds? I don't even believe it was Jennifer McCabe that talked. I think that she handed the phone to Brian Albert, and Brian Albert said, hey, I need you to get back over here really quick. We got to tell you something. I need you to come over here. Okay, I'll be right there. 13 seconds. Because Jennifer McCabe would have to say, oh, hi, Officer Lank. This is Jennifer McCabe calling. and then give her a little spiel, that's going to be more than 13 seconds. They don't have that type of relationship to say, I need you to get back over here. But Brian Albert does. Chris Albert does. If moved out of the county of Edwards and this judge, yeah, they could definitely keep the judge. The judge would have to recuse herself at this point. Okay. The judge would have to recuse herself at this point, which I think is a possibility, depending on the pressure that's provided, depending on what comes out between now, and what the FBI maybe has, will come out with. Oh, BL sending some love. Oh my God. Remember for 22 months, tons of babies. BL. Best over there. Are you still modding? I would love to actually debate Ikamal on this standpoint, in a good fashion, like a presidential debate, 2 minutes, because he's on the bandwagon of that Karen Reed's guilty. Okay. So I would love like a debate style, 2 minutes per question. I respect his work. I respect his, channel, but I think that if somebody could have a healthy debate, it would be Atlanta. Nope, I will DM. Please DM me. Please, I didn't know that. You're one of the best. Please. But I would love a healthy, debate. So maybe I'll email him. But when I saw some of the stuff he was talking about, I'm just like, you know what? I want to debate him. When you'll be shocked. Oh, I bet. Please email me. We'd love to talk to you. No, actually, I think Lally, if I look back at it, Lally did a very, very good job of completely muddying all the waters. He consulted with somebody. I will say that. I know he did. He consulted with somebody with the order of how Lally did his case confused the jury. This wasn't done in chronological order as it should have been. Okay. That made it hard for the jury, in my opinion, to put things together. Okay. On when stuff truly happened and okay, this, that, and the other. Lally's order made it hella difficult for the defense. You almost have to okay, we're going to start from the beginning and we're going to put on our case, and you'd have to recall people to remind them on this is the order, but Lally's order on bringing out the lab people, bringing out he did that for a reason, because it then wasn't so obvious of the fact that there was no chain of custody. Okay. So you have to give Lally credit there, and whoever he consulted with, because I believe that was a huge win for the prosecution, in that it masked how obvious this fuckerage was. But you don't bring out lab people and people that tested on things before you bring out the investigators on when they went and got things, and then them giving it to the lab. But Lally putting it in the order that he did, I'm telling you, helped with this whole hung jury. How do I contact you? It is themindchallenge@gmail.com. I think more is going to come out with the Colin and Allie situation with those text messages. Okay. And I think a lot more is going to come out with Colin and fighting. Now, Colin is screwed for round 2. Colin completely lied about fighting. That's called perjury. And so why lie about it? Why not say, like, yeah, I've been in fights. Why hide the fact of fighting? If John O'Keefe was hit by a car, why are you hiding the fact that you fight? Who gives a shit? Right? Them defending in the Commonwealth, it was like they were the Commonwealth, but they were also the McAlbert's defense attorneys. Okay? That's what I kind of saw. And that Lally is supposed to be fighting for the truth. He was playing McAlbert's defense attorney. And you could see by when he was objecting to questions. The discretion used by Bev, I'm sorry, but if this happens anywhere else, she gets literally obliterated with appeals. Just so you guys know, they could, the defense they can still appeal this. This is still appealable. Just so everybody knows that. I was looking into that too last night. So that'll be interesting if they try to, if they put a motion in for that. You know, why lie about fighting when this has nothing to do with fighting? It has to do with Karen Reed, you know, plowing him. So I just think that doesn't look good, that Colin Albert lied. And then he came in the courtroom and literally sat there during the closing arguments after knowing he had no shame in the fact that he committed perjury, and sat there for the closing arguments. And he has no, like, of all the people that were there, that's the only one to me that is a very interesting dynamic, because he said it on the stand that this case means nothing to him. He was not involved with this case. The only time he got involved was when people tried to start saying that they started trying to blame him. Okay. So why go? Like, you're not following this case. You don't have a relationship with John O'Keefe. You don't have a relationship with the family of the O'Keefes. So I wouldn't be surprised if any of these jurors had any kids on the jury and that they know him. Okay. And that, is he going to make their life a living hell or some shit? I don't know, but I just thought it was very weird. I thought there was a lot more people that were deserving to sit there behind Paul O'Keefe than Colin Albert. Okay. I know that Lally, in his opening statements, talked about the piece of hair. He was not allowed to talk about the hair yet because it was not decided on. I could count literally. Actually, I couldn't count all the mistakes, but these discretionary things were huge because it determined what the jury heard and what the jury didn't hear. And I think that they should look into that. This case was also rushed, if you guys know that. And I kept saying it to Bella, I kept saying either defense ran out of money, but something was up in the way that it was rushed. And I felt that without a doubt, one of the evidence supervisors should have been called to the stand to emphasize that there was no chain of custody. I felt that going back to the pictures to show in the Sally Port now, that on February 1st, from January 29th, and now it's February 1st, how is this? Because like I said, this order, like they weren't putting this in chronological order for the jury to understand. How does the bag of blood end up, if it was in the refrigerator in temporary evidence, how does the bag of blood that's supposed to be sealed, that's supposed to be labeled, end up in the Sally Port on February 1st, sitting there open? How? Where does that come from? So again, remember, the jury heard it all Lally's confabulated way. You need an investigator that gets on that stand and that goes through a timeline with a spreadsheet as a demonstrative exhibit to then put it in the order that it truly happened in. And that alone, to me, then you use in your closing to show and hammer in on reasonable doubt, reasonable possibilities. If all of you guys go into that jury room, okay, and you guys start deliberating, and you think that this could have happened because of the evidence, and you think that that could have happened because of the evidence, and you think this and you think that, those are all called possibilities. And I'm going to have a stack of bricks here. And until you can remove and take out every possibility that could have happened, then you're left with all of your guys' opinions are validated. Okay. And that means that the Commonwealth didn't prove their case because this could have happened, that could have happened, this could have happened. And looking at all of you jurors right here, you guys were confused at times. You guys could see it. You could see yourself nodding. And then at other times you could see yourself like shaking your head. And there's some stuff that, okay, you were buying, and then there's some stuff that you weren't. But with Massachusetts, and now knowing what I know about how this moral compass about Jesus Christ, that cops and first responders are the Jesus Christ, woo, you're going to have to approach it differently with the closing argument. And once they do that, and they will, it's going to be a not guilty verdict. Because everybody learns from their mistakes. And I would even call it a mistake. Everybody learns from experience. And the experience that Alan just had with Boston is the ride or die for first responders and law enforcement is way up here. And so I can't ask you guys to go against law enforcement, but I'm going to trick you into it. I'm going to explain that all of your guys' opinions, theories based off of the evidence is validated because the Commonwealth did not prove their case. And that's why you have to come back with, here's your bricks of possibilities. And if they are reasonable possibilities, that is called reasonable doubt the other way. And you need to explain that. And I think that they will. And once you explain that, how I kind of explained it yesterday and how I would go about that, I think that you're not going to have arguing in that deliberating room. And instead, you're going to have people that are going to understand each other. You're going to, it's okay for you to feel this way. It's okay for you to think this. It's okay for you to gather. But what it's not okay is that if you are validating everybody's opinions and possibilities based on the evidence and how you see it, that means you are validating reasonable doubt. And reasonable doubt does not mean hung jury. Reasonable doubt means not guilty. Okay? And those are the rules. The rules aren't that you get to say, oh, because we're split on who that we think Karen Reed's guilty. That's not how you do it. You guys should all think that Karen Reed's guilty in here. But why do you think that? Based on the evidence? And the answer is no. Based on the evidence, you're confused. Because it's conflicting. Because you should be confused. Because you have one expert saying that this happened, and you have another expert that's saying that this happened. You have one expert that's saying the car couldn't have possibly been. You guys, they're saying the car is the murder weapon. The car is the murder weapon. Alan Jackson and Yannetti need to use that and spin it. If the car is the murder weapon, then then it should be across the board unanimous, right? Just like when somebody is stabbed to death, a knife did it, a sharp object did it. Or if somebody has gunshot wounds, a gun killed, they have a gun is the murder weapon. Well, here in this case, you guys, we have 3 possibilities as the murder weapon: a car, fists, or what? Or a dog. So if and the Commonwealth is saying that the car is the murder weapon, that's not conclusive. Nowhere in the Emmy's finding does it say that a car killed John O'Keefe. That's what you have to tell this jury. If a Emmy could not come back and say that this was a homicide, how could any of you guys? An Emmy in this situation says undetermined. That's what she said. Why? Because it is undetermined. Because she doesn't know. She cannot say that the car is the murder weapon. And so if she can't, how could any of you guys? That's the type of closing you need. Forget about the pieces of, I think it's really important to talk about the fact that the bumper, I think you should talk about Lally also lying to you. Lally said that we were going to see this, this, and this, and this. That didn't happen here. Lally promised you things on that opening that didn't happen. And in fact, the glass doesn't match. The glass on the bumper doesn't match the glass that was found in the snow. Where is this embedded glass or anything into John O'Keefe's clothing? So now that you know I'm just saying, the defense is going to destroy the Commonwealth if round 2 happens. I mean, literally a blip, like a gone. So, there is so much reasonable doubt. But now if you take the case and you actually take out stuff though, so what should actually come out of this case, because it should have never made it in? All the blood. Those solo cups are never going to see the light of day. So that means that remember how, there's no tissue found on any of those pieces of glass or plastic. It hits John O'Keefe, cuts them all up. No tissue. They really need to focus in on showing where John O'Keefe's body was from using the dash cam, and then do an aerial overview and show where the fire hydrant is, to show how far truly the fire hydrant is from where John O'Keefe's body was found, and that it was found face down. Carrie Roberts needs to be, and now she will be cross-examined about, did you flip John's body over? You guys, you can't have this gash on the back of your head and be face down, and from that come from the concrete. This is going to be amazing. In that 911 call, they had to flip John's body over. Now also, the blood pooling that would have been on the snow is coming from John's front. Coming from his nose. And that's why they thought that it came from the same blood pool, because it came from his nose, because he was face down. But the back of your head and having that gash, also, I think it needs to be said that in the closing arguments, I think we can all raise our hands here and say that we don't think that John O'Keefe was murdered inside the vehicle. John O'Keefe would have had to get out of the vehicle, right? He didn't sustain any of those injuries inside the SUV. I think we can all agree on that, right? And I would say just like that. I think we can all agree on that. So then that means that John would have had to get out of the vehicle, right? And now the question is what time did John O'Keefe get out of the vehicle? And you only have two options, which is, because John O'Keefe, based off of his health data, is at 12:21 begins taking steps and makes his steps until 12:24, or at 12:31 and 52 seconds, he takes 36 steps. Those are your only two options to say when John got out of the vehicle. And now if we go off of what Jennifer McCabe said, at 12:27, she texts him and says, here, because she says that that's when she saw the SUV. But in her testimony as well, she said that at 12:23, Ryan Nagel said he was here, okay? And then if John O'Keefe and Karen Reed arrived before Nagel, it would have had to be before 12:23, right? And so isn't it more plausible that John O'Keefe would have began to walk at 12:21 and 50 seconds versus 12:31 and 50 seconds? And if you believe that he started walking, whether it's at 12:21 in some seconds or 12:31, you have 30, he takes 36 steps during that 12:31 time. That means that Karen Reed would not have enough time at 12:31 and 52 seconds to pull up, being seen by everybody, because they all said that that car was still there, and back into him. Everybody would have seen that at 12:31 and some odd seconds, 50 seconds. Then Karen Reed has to then get on that Wi-Fi by 12:36. And we all know that that time is at least a 6-minute drive, and that's in good weather, no traffic, no nothing, 6 minutes. She's on the Wi-Fi at 12:36. I mean, she'd have to leave at 12:30 at the absolute latest, but that would be in amazing conditions. This is reasonable doubt. It is reasonable to think that John O'Keefe, in fact, was walking at 12:21 and that he, in fact, did go inside and walked upstairs, and that's why his data registered flights of stairs. And if you believe that John O'Keefe at any point in time walked in that house, then you must acquit Karen Reed. He could have walked into that house, got into an altercation, and then at 12:31 began his walking out, okay, and fell down face down, and that's why he had 36 steps at 12:21 or 12:31. But my client had already drove off, and that's why he was face down in the snow, because he was trying to walk back out of that house after getting his ass kicked, and he passed out face down while walking, and that's why he landed on top of his phone. Now, the alternative is that if you think John O'Keefe started walking at 12:21, if Karen hits him then at 12:21 or just thereafter, then he would have been laying down on the ground for 5 minutes because he doesn't move, but then he gets up at 12:31 to try to walk because he was, knocked out. He attempts to walk again, but everybody would have seen that then at that 12:21 time. That's how you get the people, in my opinion, to say, okay, well, we know that John O'Keefe would have had to have gotten out of his car in order to sustain any type of an injury, because he didn't sustain it inside the car, right? They found no blood inside that car. They tested it all. There was no blood inside that car. So can we all agree that John O'Keefe got out of the car? And I think that you're going to have everybody on the jury saying, yes, he did get out of the car. And that would go with what Jennifer McCabe said on the 911 call, that John O'Keefe got out of the car. But then during all of this testimony, everybody wants to say that they never saw John get out of the car. Why? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because if everybody says that John O'Keefe got out of the car, then they would all be negligent in not helping him after my client hit him. And why would they have no reason to help him? They all have to say that they never saw him get out of the car to save their butts from witnessing whatever it is that they witnessed, and they just left. Because that is a crime. But you stay right in that time frame and you explain it like that, it is impossible to have every single one of these witnesses say that they didn't see anything at that time, nor did any one of these people, when they would have left, saw a body. You guys all went to the house. You guys saw how small that yard is. You guys stood at the stairs and you walked down. And you guys even asked one of your counterparts to lay in the lawn, lay over there, let me see what it looks like. And it is not reasonable to think that not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people did not see him laying there after my client would have hit him, and nobody saw that. That is not reasonable. That is not a reasonable conclusion. That is unreasonable. You say that for an hour, and Bev saying that the jurors can't use their notes during closing, I think needs to change. But if she's going to keep it that way, then that's even more of a reason that you have to do a closing like this, because telling them to go look at something at this timestamp, so you get away from the motive that could have possibly existed for other people, and you go with, it is not reasonable that all of these people came home, were all staring out the window. Every single person, you know what every single person testified to? That they didn't see John laying on that lawn. You know why they testified to that? Because they didn't see him. Because he wasn't there. Because my client didn't hit him. Otherwise, they would have seen him. Just like any of you guys, when you guys were at the house, would have seen him. When you guys were standing on that lawn and you were standing on those stairs, you guys were all there. How small is that yard? You can't miss him. You cannot miss a body. 6'2". Then if that's not enough, then Lucky comes on by with the plow. He didn't see him. Then Caitlin leaves with her sober boyfriend at 2:15 in the morning. And he had to drive by twice to go pick her up. So he's driving by the house, pulls in the driveway, then she walks out, then she gets in the car, and they drive by again. So not once but twice did Tristan drive by and didn't see anything. This is reasonable doubt. Forget about if you think the cops planted anything. Because you're going to go back in that room and half of you guys are going to think that they did and half of you guys are going to think that they didn't. Okay? So what are you going to do? You're going to throw that out. Half of you guys are going to believe Trooper Paul and half of you guys are going to believe the ARCA guys. Throw that out. Half of you guys are going to believe Richard Green and half of you guys are going to believe Nick Guerrero on the cell phones. Throw that out. But now when you come to these witnesses, every single witness, Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe, the Alberts, Albert Sr., Albert Jr., Sarah Livingston, Julie Nagel, Tristan Morris, Caitlin Albert, Richie Dionato, Heather Maxon, and Ryan Nagel. Every single one of them, you can't throw their statement out, which is, I didn't see a body, he wasn't on the lawn. They all have the same story, that there was nobody on that lawn. And so there is nothing to throw out then. John O'Keefe wasn't on the lawn yet. John O'Keefe wasn't in that spot yet. They all have the same story. Nobody saw a body. And couldn't it be because there was no body? If all of them have the same story, let's reverse things for them. There was no body. It is not reasonable to think that if my client hit John, he would have to be there, laying there at 12:30 at the very latest, because my client has to be on the Wi-Fi by 12:36. And that would mean that you would have actual witnesses to this hit and run. And we don't. In fact, we have witnesses that say that it didn't happen. And so are we going to ignore every single one of those witnesses that say the same thing, that John O'Keefe was not on that, not there? Don't you think that you would have seen a body? Yeah. Hey, did you see him, my client, reverse and hit him? Ryan Nagels, they were right there. They were right there. And when you drove past, did you see John O'Keefe in the vehicle? No, the dome light was on. What happens when you turn a dome? What happens when you open up a door? Somebody gets out, dome light's on. This is all reasonable doubt. Because then you're asking yourself, okay, what killed John O'Keefe? What's the murder weapon? Is it the car? Is it a dog? Or is it a fist? Or could it be a blunt force object to hit him in the back? And we don't know. We don't know. The state didn't prove that a car did it. John O'Keefe could have taken that glass, threw it, hit out the, but guess what? Nobody testified to that. Nobody said that they saw that. What people want to call a complex case, I don't see this as a complex case. I see this as a logical person looking at this and saying that, okay, you only have a short window when this could have happened. And during that short window, everybody was there. Everybody was looking outside from the inside. People that were outside were sitting there waiting for people from the inside to come out. And nobody saw any of this happen in that time frame. So why aren't we going with these witnesses? I think the house long to die in cold in the Google should not be talked about again. Because clearly these jurors are thinking that if you say not guilty to Karen Reed, it means that you're saying guilty to other people. And that's not it. I can't have you as a juror thinking that way. I need you as a juror thinking that you're voting not guilty because the state, the Commonwealth, did not prove their case. Period. We'll take care of the rest later. But the house long to die, stop talking about it. That's hurting this case, in my opinion. If you want to talk about something that's more, talk about the fact that the health data shows that Jennifer McCabe never went upstairs when she was at John O'Keefe's house. The health data shows that she never went upstairs during that 7 minutes when they were at the O'Keefe residence before they found the body at 34 Fairview. So therefore, she could have never talked to Kaylee to have that crying story to say, Kaylee, I'm going to bring John back. And that's when she broke down on the stand. She never went upstairs. The data shows that she never walked upstairs. So when did she talk to Kaylee? Because Carrie Roberts went upstairs, supposedly, and they both went upstairs and that they talked to Kaylee in Kaylee's bedroom. Well, guess who didn't go upstairs? Jen McCabe. And Jen McCabe was wearing her watch. So you can't say, oh, she left her phone in the car and that's why it didn't register. No, she had her watch on. She did not go upstairs when she was at the O'Keefe residence. Means that you're going to get her on the stand when she wants to have that crying breakdown to appeal to the jurors that I wanted to bring back my friend. I told Kaylee that I was going to bring him back. Like I said, the Commonwealth has played their hand. Okay? You cannot change the facts of the case. So people want to say, oh, the second time around, this. The facts remain the facts. The Commonwealth says that the car is the murder weapon. Well, you need to show the jury that if the car is the murder weapon, then the manner and the cause of death should have been so easy for the Emmy. But the Emmy couldn't get to that conclusion. And in fact, she said that it was undetermined. So if the Emmy is saying that she doesn't know how John O'Keefe passed away, then how can any of us say how John O'Keefe passed away? But the Commonwealth tried, and they said that the car is the murder weapon. Well, there's other options. And that would be fists, and that would be dog bites. And you need to validate that everyone's going to have difference of opinions. You need to validate those opinions. And you need to say that, and you guys are right to think what you're thinking. You guys are right. You're going to go back in that room, and you're going to say, well, I think the dog bit him. I don't think those are car bites. I think those are dog bites. I don't think that's road rash. I think, and all of you guys are going to have different possibilities from what you've seen. And what that means, when you have reasonable possibilities, that is reasonable doubt. And the rules of the game of law is that if there is reasonable doubt, then you must acquit. You must say not guilty. Okay? You cannot go in there and change the rules of the game and say, you guys, if we're divided like this, that means that it's a hung jury. No, that means that every one of you guys has a reasonable outcome. And the reason that you guys have all these reasonable outcomes is because the Commonwealth did not do their job. And the rules are, when that happens, when you guys are going to go back there and that's what's going to happen, then it's very simple. A case that everyone wants to say is so complex is very simple, which is we have no idea how John O'Keefe was killed. And so therefore, we must acquit. I don't want you guys to go back there and say, we don't know if Karen Reed did it or not, or if could it have been this person, could it have been that person, could it have been this. That's not how I want you to go back there and deliberate. And trust me, it's going to happen that way the next time. And if you have a foreman that validates and gives everybody a chance to speak and then says at the end, I think these are all validated possibilities. I think that it's reasonable to say that you think the car did it. I think it's reasonable to think that there's no way the car did it. I think that it's reasonable to say that, look at this data. He definitely walked in that house. That's how he got the flights of stairs. And if he walked into that house, then Karen couldn't have done it because he would have had to then come out of that house and then she hits him after he's in that house. But none of those people say that he went into that house. This is all now reasonable doubt. Danielle, I thought the same thing, but I'm going to tell you where the jury went wrong, in my opinion. They think that the cops and the first responders are Jesus Christ in Boston. And so they're looking at this case in a moral compass saying, if we say not guilty, that means that we're going against the police. And it's like, no, you're going against the prosecution. You're going against the case. They all changed the game of Monopoly in the middle of the game, or I should say at the end of the game. They change the rules. And that's not what happens. And those jurors completely lost themselves in that room. Anybody that's talking about moral compass, this isn't a personal thing. You're way too personally talking about moral compass. What the fuck are you talking about? There's nothing morally compassing about this. These are about rules. This is about an oath you took to follow the rules of the game. And I know that may sound like, man, but this isn't a game. But it is. The defense plays a game and the prosecution plays a game. It is what it is. I'm calling a spade a spade. But there are rules to the game. And the rules changed inside that deliberating room. And to make sure the rules don't change next time, you're going to have to make sure that those rules are clear as can be in closing argument, and it has to be about what I just said. And if it's like that, it's a not guilty. It's 100%. There's no way that you give a speech like that because you're validating people's opinions. You're not going to have people fighting in that room. You don't want people fighting. You do not want this to be about moral anything. You want this to be about the fundamental rules of how law works. Crafty mama, yep. And I think that that's what Alan Jackson learned. I think that, Yannetti's a Massachusetts lawyer. Alan Jackson and Little are not. If this trial was held in California, Karen Reed would have been acquitted in 2 hours. That's California, where fuck the police. You know what I mean? In Boston, no. In Massachusetts, it's like everybody and their mother thinks that the best job to have is to be a Boston cop and to serve and to be proud, and Irish families, and completely different. And so when Dr. Latina was talking about the deep-rooted Irish ways in law enforcement and stuff like that, she was 100% right. And that is what you've learned in this case if you're a lawyer. And I'm not one, but I'll tell you what, I think I could pass that motherfucking bar exam. And I think I could give one hell of an opening and a closing. And I think I'm one fuck of a researcher. So that's why I do everything pro se and lose. Because you know why? Because lawyers cheat. And because I'm not playing the pony game. Amy's positive pathway is this Massachusetts resident believes there is corruption. 100%. There's definitely corruption. But in order to get the verdict that I want, I'm going to have to do it differently. And then I'm going to have to sue the fuck out of them civilly. I believe that Karen's civil rights were violated. I believe that you are only as good as the evidence. You're only as good as your evidence. You're only as good as your investigator. You're only as good as your researcher. You need material in order to free your client. You can't bluff through it. Okay? You have to bluff through it when you don't have the shit. But when you have the shit and you're a badass, then you're just going to crush it. And I believe that the evidence is there to show that this is, I believe in Alan Jackson when he says, this is what happens when you go after an innocent person. Okay? You're never going to get nobody is ever going to convict Karen Reed. Like, that's not a possibility. So think about that. Think about when you go and buy a home. You're going to go and buy a home knowing that it's a money pit and that you're just going to dump all this money into it, knowing that it's in an area where the value is depreciating. Okay? Who would ever do such a thing? I would never take $1 million and go and buy a home that's going to be worth nothing in 2 years, right? You would never do it. That's a crazy ass investment. Hey, I can read the future and there's a hurricane coming and it's going to wipe out this mansion on the water. But hey, guess what? Buy it right now for $1 million, and you're going to have it for 2 years, but in 2 years, it's going to be destroyed. Would you ever do that? Well, I know my answer. My answer is going to be no. Well, this is what the Commonwealth is looking at. The Commonwealth is like, okay, how much money do you think it's going to cost to prosecute Karen Reed, knowing that they're going to get it's going to be a loss. Whoever does that. But that's what they're doing. But they have no choice. You want to know why? The same reasons that people think cops are Jesus Christ. Whoever goes and does something knowing the result is going to be negative, and you're going to put all this money into it. I just think that that's absolute craziness. Sherry sent you $24.90 for ode to Officer O'Keefe's badge number, 2490. I learned something new. I did not know that was Officer O'Keefe's badge number, 2490. Let's go box that. Let's play the lottery. 2490. I'm going to go play it. If it happens to hit, all right, we're going to donate a shit ton of money to Karen Reed's defense. I'm going to leave you guys with this. And I think you guys are going to love this. I was talking to a good friend yesterday and her husband, who's a good friend as well. And they said, Lana, do you know how long it takes to get a pool permit in Massachusetts? I said, no. You're going to wait like 18 months to get to be able to have a permit to build an in-ground pool in your house at your yard. They said, why don't you research how many people in the past 2 years have filled in an in-ground pool in Massachusetts? Look it up. Look up to see how many people in the past 2 years have filled in an in-ground pool. And they said it doesn't happen. You're not doing that in Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, you wait so long to be able to even be afforded the permit to put in an in-ground pool that you would never, especially if you're about to sell it, you would never in Canton fill in an in-ground pool that is highly sought after, and like people are on, like you're not getting, it's not like, okay, I have all this money, so I'm just going to go, hey, I want a pool tomorrow, so I'm going to start building a pool. That's not how it works. So I looked into it. And they're right. You're not just going and getting a permit to put it, you're not just able to go get, hey, I have all the money in the world, I want to build a pool. No, you have to do things, and you're going to have to wait, and you're going to wait months to get that permit to put your pool in. And so the last thing that anybody does in Massachusetts is they're so highly sought after. They're so, it's a big deal. You wait so long to get them, is that you're not going to go and you're not going to fill it in with cement. You're just not going to do that. Especially then you're going to tell me that you're going to that you are in the works of going to sell this home. Now, this is a guy and a woman who are well-versed in the real estate world, and I'll just leave it at that. Said that something is completely wrong with that picture alone. And so I thought about it. Why would you fill in your in-ground pool? Why would you fill it in? If you don't want to take care of it anymore, don't fill it up with water, but fill it in with concrete, and then you're going to sell it. You guys, that doesn't make any sense. And when something doesn't make sense logically to somebody that's trying to make money, because that's the whole reason that like the Albert said that they sold their house, that they were talking to real estate realtors, and that their one buddy sold it and blah, blah, blah. Remember all that crap? I don't know what it means. I don't know. But I can just tell you this. I was taught if something looks like shit, smells like shit, it is shit. And that looks like shit, smells like shit. Don't know what it means, but what I'm telling you is that is not normal. And it is, especially if you're going to be selling that place, that is the last thing that you would do in order to make money. If you don't care about money, because what would mean more than money to anybody in this world? Family. Freedom. So to me, they could talk about basement all they want, whatever, but why did they fill in the pool? Why did they fill in the pool? Why would you need to fill in the pool? You don't. You don't need to fill in any pool. You just, you drain it. You drain it, you put a cover over it. That's what you would do if you didn't want to take care of it. And like, it's just so much upkeep, and the kids are so much older, no one's using it. So, but we're going to keep it here because we want, I mean, just think about that. But nobody in Massachusetts is filling in-ground pools. And that's the research I did, and they're right. And there are permits that you have to go and get, and you wait a long time to get one. So with that said, I want to thank, again, everybody that's covered the Karen Reed case, everybody that's come here to see the Karen Reed case. We're going to still be covering the Karen Reed case here. Like I said, I enjoy all of you people. The moderators, thank you so much for coming every morning or in the afternoons, whenever it is that you guys can pop in. You guys are the best. So again, thank you guys so much. If anybody's trying to get in touch with me, again, my email is themindchallenge@gmail.com. There's a status conference, like I said, the 22nd of July. But July 11th, Turtle Boy has a hearing. I think it's really important to keep following Turtle Boy's case because it is 100% connected to the Karen Reed case. He is he went to jail because of this case. So I think anybody out there, I think that Turtle Boy needs just as much support as Karen Reed needs, because these people are nasty. They're cheaters, and they have no boundaries. And Tully is a nasty motherfucker, man. That him and Lally, they were in every meeting together that took place with every single one of those witnesses that testified. It's sick. So Turtle Boy has our support, and if there's anything that I could do to help Turtle Boy, if he needs someone to do a sick timeline for him, if he needs an Excel spreadsheet, if he needs any type of organizational stuff with any of his stuff, please let him know that I offer my abilities if they can help. I would want the same for me if I was in that situation. I've covered cases the same way that Turtle Boy has covered cases, and I couldn't imagine. I mean, I've had stuff like this happen to me, but not to this extent. But I have had people try to put me in jail. I've had people lie about me. I've had people say that I was stalking them, all this crazy shit. And people lie, and they don't care if it's under oath. So you have to show that they're lying. So But that said, thank you guys so much. H-Bag. Love you. Love all the Boston people, everyone that this hit extra hard for because of where they live. Like I said, you locals are great. I love all of you guys. I hope that you guys continue to follow and support with the Karen Reed case, with the Idaho case. I will be doing an Idaho update tonight because I'm going to drop a bomb. I'm feeling it. Fuck them. Let's go. Again, I just can't say thank you enough. Thank you, Relax Senior. Anybody that DMC again, $50. So glad you were alive. I was feeling lost this morning. I said that earlier, but I wanted to come back to these. WB in case I missed any super sticker. I've got some new memberships. People were buying people memberships. If you go green, you never go back. You know what they say. Bomb chat. What did Paul yell to Karen? KK, I answered that. Hi, Lana. I normally watch Law 2 because I'm a law nerd. Wanted to let you know that you receive lots of shout outs for your excellent research. Hope continue with SB. Yes, I will be covering the Sandra Birchmore. I think that's what you were talking about. So lawyer's daughter. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for the shout outs. Who's ever doing that? Appreciate that. BL, like I said, 22 months. Damn, that's a long time. Caitlin, thank you for gifting that membership. Beth D, new member. Charlie, I love the name Charlie. They may be playing with words and they beat him in the garage or backyard, so lots of people would not be lying about not coming in the house. I agree with that. I also said that there's a possibility that that he walked around, could have walked around back, or that when he was attempting to leave to go get Karen, that he got turned around and went outside the back way, and that's where the dog was in the backyard, which would make sense that there was, if he slipped and fell and hit the back of his head on like the in-ground pool where like the edge kind of would be, something like that. Again, I believe that the reason that his one side's only been attacked is because he was down on the ground, and you know, when you're down on the ground, you turn to your side. So that is kind of what I am foreseeing. But I believe his phone is accurate with the whole steps up and down. And I believe he went in there and he went straight to the basement, but then he came up, then he was going to go outside, and that's what happened. And then he went down one more time because if there's a bathroom down there, I think that they were trying to possibly wake him up out of being knocked out. So they put him in the what do you call it? They put him in the shower, turn the shower on him to try to, like, you know, wake him up from being knocked out cold. And that could have accounted for why his clothes were soaking wet, if they in fact were all drenched like that. Which would have also then, when putting him out in the cold then like that, would have led to a quicker hypothermic state. Again, meeting between you and Yannetti and AJ panel with Attorney Marathon, young George Turtleboy needs to see your timeline. This needs to be a collaborated effort. Your expertise has to be shown to others. Please check email. Peace out. I will. Thank you so much. Thank you for the super chat. Amy's positive pathways. I mentioned this. Yep, I believe in corruption. My relaxed senior over there. Get unrelaxed because I'm ready to twist it. Holly Berry, love you, Lana, love you back. And then let's do it. Backing the truth of the evidence, absolutely. Reasonable doubt all day in the Karen Reed case. If there is a trial too, whether it will be a civil case or whether it's going to be a criminal case, Karen Reed is factually not able to be receiving in any way, shape, or form a guilty verdict, in my opinion. None of us were there. We don't know what happened. But Karen Reed murder, no. Sorry. In response To anyone supporting the prosecution after watching all of that, my head kept playing and you hearted it. Bridget, if I were on that jury, I'd run to the press and tell what happened. I'd be so pissed. Yeah. I wonder if it's going to come out, if someone's going to break their silence. So you have the best data info and timeline details, 100. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm going to only continue to build on it. So, all right, guys, take care, and we'll talk to you guys tonight. Those of you guys that can pop in, be kind to one another. I was a buyer looking specifically for a pool since I have a dozen grandkids. Yep. I'm telling you, no one's filling in that pool. All right, peace out. Bye.